Om. I bow to Lord Ganesha, remover of all obstacles. I offer my salutations to Sage Vyasa, who is the incarnation of Lord Vishnu and the source of all wisdom, born of the great sage Vashishta. I invoke Narayana, the supreme being. I honor Nara, the primeval man, and I revere Sarasvati, the goddess of divine speech and wisdom. With their blessings, may I now begin to speak of Jaya, the sacred tale of the Mahabharata, the victory of Dharma, and the eternal song of the soul. The Mahabharata, abridged and translated by John D. Smith, 2009. The Gambling Match. Vaishampayana spoke. While Duryodhana dwelt in the hall, bull-like Bharata, he slowly examined the whole place with Shakuni, and in it the Kaurava saw schemes of celestial wonder that he had never seen before in Hastinapura, the city of the elephant. Once, in the middle of the hall, Dhrtarastra's royal son came upon a crystal floor. Fooled into thinking it water, King Duryodhana drew up his garments. After this, he walked about the hall with angry heart and averted gaze. Next, seeing a pond of crystalline water adorned with crystal lotuses, he thought it was a floor and fell, fully clothed, headlong into the water. When the servants saw that he had fallen in the pond, they laughed uproariously before giving him clean clothes at the king's command. Then mighty Bhima and Arjuna and the twins saw him in this state, and they too all burst out laughing. Angry Duryodhana could not bear their mirth. Maintaining a dignified mien, he avoided their gaze. But now, once again, he drew up his garments as though for waiting to set foot on what was in fact dry land. And once again, everyone laughed at him, and he bumped his forehead against a door which had seemed to him open. And then halted in front of an open door, believing it closed. Thus, King Duryodhana was tricked repeatedly, lord of the peoples, before taking leave of Pandu's son, Yudhisthira. It was with a cheerless heart that he returned to the city of the elephant, for he had seen the amazing wealth displayed at the great rite of the royal consecration. And so King Duryodhana began to think wicked thoughts as he traveled, burning with the jealousy of the Pandavas' fortune and wearied with brooding. He had seen Kunti's sons happy and all the princes obedient to Yudhisthira's will. He had seen the whole world, down to the children, favoring him, heir of Kuru, and he had seen the unsurpassed greatness of the noble Pandavas. Now Dhrtarashtra's son, Duryodhana, grew pale as he traveled on, distracted with brooding on the hall and the matchless fortune of the wise lord of Dharma. So preoccupied was Duryodhana that he said not a word to Shabala's son Shakuni, who kept trying to engage him in talk. Finally, perceiving his state of distraction, Shakuni said, "Duryodhana, why do you sigh as you travel?" Duryodhana answered him, "I have seen this whole earth obedient to Yudhisthira's will, conquered for him by noble Arjuna with the prowess of his weapon. I have seen, uncle, that sacrifice of Kunti's son which matched the sacrifice of Indra among the gods. And I am so full of resentment that I burn day and night like a shallow lake drying out at the onset of the hot weather. Observe Shishupala slain by the Sattva chief, and not a man there to support him. The kings were all burning with a Pandava flame and forgave that crime, yet who could truly forgive it? What Krishna Vasudeva did was a great wrong, and it came about through the might of the noble Pandavas. What is more, all the kings approached Kunti's son, King Yudhisthira, bearing jewels of every kind, like Vaishyas paying taxes. I have seen Pandu's son enjoying such dazzling fortune, and I burn with resentment, for I am unused to such sights. I shall enter fire, or swallow poison, or drown myself, for I cannot live so. What man of mettle in this world could bear to see his rivals prosper and himself fail? If today I tolerate this new-found fortune of my rival, then I am neither woman nor non-woman, neither man nor non-man. What man like me would not burn to see such sovereignty over the earth, such wealth, such a sacrifice? But alone I am powerless to gain that kingly fortune for myself, and I see no allies, and that is why I contemplate death. It seems to me that fate is supreme and human effort vain, when I see that Kunti's son has gained such a splendid fortune. Once before I strove for his destruction, son of Subala, and yet he overcame it all and thrives like a lotus in water. And so it seems to me that fate is supreme and human effort vain. For Dhrtarastra's sons are failing, and the sons of Kunti always thrive. I've seen their fortune and their splendid hall. I've seen their guards deride me, and I burn as if with fire. So let me be, uncle, for today I am full of woe. But you may tell Dhritarashtra that resentment has taken possession of me. Shakuni replied, Duryodhana, do not be angry with Yudhisthira, for Pandu's sons always enjoy good fortune. More than once before now you have taken them captive with a variety of schemes, but through their good fortune the tiger-like heroes have escaped. They have gained Draupadi for their wife, and Drupada together with his sons for their friends, and heroic Krishna Vasudeva is their ally in gaining mastery over the earth. They inherited unchallenged wealth from their father, Lord of the earth, and have increased it through their ardor. What grounds for grief in this? Wealth winner Arjuna satisfied the fire god and gained the bow Gandiva with 2 inexcusable arrow cases and celestial weapons also. With that wonderful bow and the prowess of his own arm, he has brought the lords of the earth under his authority. What grounds for grief in this? That ambidextrous enemy afflictor freed the demon Maya from fires burning and so brought about the construction of the hall. At Maya's command, that hall was supported by terrible Kimkara Rakshasas. What grounds for grief in this? As for the lack of allies of which you spoke, heir of Bharata, that is not so, for these mighty chariot fighters, your brothers, are your allies, and so is the great bowman Drona with his wise son Ashwatthama, and Karna, the Suta's son, and the great chariot fighter Kripa of Gautama, and I myself with my brothers, and Somdata's son Brivesas, join together with all these and conquer the whole earth. Together with you, O king, said Duryodhana, and with these other mighty chariot fighters, I shall defeat them, if you think it good. And once they are defeated, the earth shall be mine, and all the lords of the earth, and that costly hall. Shakuni answered, Wealth winner Arjuna, Krishna Vasudeva, Bhima, Yudhisthira, Nakula, Sahadeva, Draupadi, and his sons, these cannot be defeated in battle by force. Not even by the hosts of the gods, for they are great chariot fighters and mighty bowmen, expert in arms and mad for battle. But I know the means by which Yudhisthira himself may be defeated, O king. Listen and approve it. If they can indeed be defeated without recklessness toward friends and other noble supporters, replied Duryodhana, then tell me, uncle. Shakuni said, Kunti's son is fond of gambling, but he does not know how to play. If the Lord of Kings is challenged, he will not be able to refuse, and I am skilled at playing. I have no equal on earth, none in the three worlds. So challenge Kunti's son to a match. Thanks to my skill at dice, bull-like king, you may be sure that I shall take for you his kingdom and his splendid fortune. But you must tell the king about all of this, Duryodhana. Once I have your father's consent, I shall defeat him, make no doubt. Son of Subala, answered Duryodhana, you should tell the Kuru Lord Dhrtarastra yourself in the proper manner. I cannot talk of this to him. Shakuni, son of Subala, had experienced the great rite of King Yudhisthira's royal consecration in company with Gandhari's son Duryodhana. Now, wishing to favor Duryodhana, whose opinion he had already learnt and whose words he had listened to, he approached Dhrtarastra, who saw him through his wisdom as the wise lord of men sat before him, and spoke to him. King Duryodhana has become pale, wan, and thin, and you should know that he is downcast and anxious, bull-like Bharata, and yet you do not properly investigate the unbearable grief that an enemy is causing your eldest son. Why do you not find out about it? Duryodhana, my son, cried Dhrtarashtra, what troubles you so deeply? If it is a matter that would be proper for me to hear, then tell me of it here of Kuru. Shakuni here says that you are pale, wan, and thin, and yet when I set my mind to it, I can see no cause for you to grieve. All our mighty sovereignty is invested in you, son, and neither your brothers nor your allies act to displease you. You wear fine clothes, you eat meat stews, noble horses bear you. Why are you wan and thin? You have costly beds and lovely women, fine houses, and every enjoyment you could wish. All this is at your call, as you well know, as though you were a god, and yet one so unconquerable seems downcast. Why are you grieving, son? I eat this and I wear that, answered Duryodhana, like any base-born man. But I harbor a fierce resentment as I endure the reversal of my fortune. The unforbearing man who, to free himself of his enemy's vexations, would destroy his own kingdom if it fell to the enemy, he is truly a man. Contentment destroys good fortune, Bharata, and so do self-regard, compassion, and fear. The one whom these affect will attain nothing great. Those pleasures of mine please me no more, for I have seen Kunti's son, Yudhisthira, enjoying the dazzling fortune, and it strikes the color from my face. I see my rivals prosper, and myself fail. I see, though I cannot bear to see, the fortune of Kunti's son rising before me. And so I am pale and downcast, wan and thin. There are 88,000 pious householders, performers of the domestic rites, whom Yudhisthira maintains, with 33 slave girls apiece. 10,000 more daily eat the finest food from golden vessels in his dwelling. The king of Cambodia has sent him the skins of deer, black, brown, and red, and blankets of the highest quality. She-elephants, cows, and horses, in their hundreds and thousands, roam his lands, as well as 3,000 she-camels. And the start of his splendid rite, princes brought At the start of his splendid rite, princes brought masses of jewels of every kind to Kunti's son, Lord of the Earth. I have never seen nor ever heard of such wealth as came to Pandu's wise son at his sacrifice. Now that I have seen my enemy receive that boundless torrent of wealth, O king, I find no comfort, for I can think of nothing else. Vatadana Brahmins, rich in cattle, stood in hundreds at his gate, bearing offerings worth 30 billion, but were refused. They gained entrance only when they brought their offerings in the form of lovely golden water pots. The ocean itself brought for him Varuna's drinking vessel, which even the women of the celestials do not use when they carry mead to Indra. It was cast from 1,000 pieces of gold and adorned with many jewels. And when I saw it, I felt as though I were utterly consumed by fever. Bearing that goblet, the Pandavas now travel to the oceans of the east and south, bearing it, and they travel likewise to that of the west. But no one travels to that of the north, Father, except for birds. And a marvel occurred there. Hear me as I tell you of it. Whenever a full 100,000 Brahmins were being served their food, there was an established single. A conch was always blown. Ere Bharata, I heard that glorious sound of that conch sounding again and again till the hair rose on my body. The hall was filled with numerous princes who had come to watch. And, Lord of men, those princes brought with them all manner of jewels. But at the sacrifice of Pandu's wise son, those lords of the earth waited like Vaishyas on the Brahmins, great king. Indra, the king of gods, does not have such a fortune. Neither does Yama or Varuna or even Kubera, the lord of Guyakshas and god of wealth, has fortune. He has the fortune Yudhishthira has, O king. Now that I have seen the matchless wealth of Pandu's son, I have no peace, for my mind is on fire. Now Shakuni spoke. Hero of true valor, listen while I tell you the way to acquire the wonderful fortune that you have seen in the hands of Pandu's son. I am known throughout the whole earth for my skill at dice, heir of Bharata. I know their inner secrets. I know how to wager. I know the subtleties of the game. Kunti's son is fond of gambling, but he does not know how to play. If he is challenged, he is sure to come. Challenge him to gamble with you. When when King Duryodhana heard Shakuni's words, he spoke at once to Dhrtarastra. Here is a skilled gamester, O king, who can get me the fortune of Pandu's son through gambling. Please permit it. Dhrtarastra replied, I act on the counsel of my wise minister, Vidura, the chamberlain. I shall decide this matter after consulting him, for he respects Dharma and is far-sighted. He will announce a decision that secures the greatest good and is proper for both parties. If the chamberlain is consulted, retorted Duryodhana, he will prevent you. And if you are prevented, Lord of Kings, I shall die, make no doubt. And when I am dead, King, enjoy yourself with Vidura, for you will rule the whole earth. What need will you have of me? Dhritarashtra listened to Duryodhana's frank and tortured words, and then he spoke to his servants in accordance with his wishes. Let craftsmen swiftly build me a great hall, delightful and lovely to see, with thousands of pillars and hundreds of doors. Strew it with jewels, lay out dice everywhere, and when it is properly built, with a fine entrance, come and inform me privately. Then, after taking this decision in order to calm Duryodhana, Dhritarashtra, the lord of the earth, sent for Vidura, O king. And without asking Vidura, he never decided anything. He knew the evils of gambling, and yet he was swayed by love for his son. When the wise Vidura heard what he had done and understood that the gates of Kali were at hand and that destruction had shown its face, he hurried to Dhritarashtra. Brother approached noble firstborn brother. He bowed his head to Dhritarashtra's feet and spoke. I cannot applaud this resolve of yours, O king. My lord, we act to prevent gambling from causing discord among your sons. My lord, act to prevent gambling from causing discord amongst your sons. Chamberlain, answered Dhritarashtra, my sons will not quarrel with my sons. The God in heaven will bestow their favor upon us, make no doubt. Whether it be fair or foul, whether it be good or ill, let this friendly gambling match proceed, for so it is ordained, make no doubt. I myself shall be near at hand, and also Bhishma, Bharata's bull-like heir. So there will surely be no misconduct, even at fate's decree. Mount your chariot with its horses, swift as the wind, and go this very day to Prastha. Fetch Yudhisthira here. I tell you this, Vidura, my resolve cannot be countermanded. It seems to me that fate is supreme to bring this about. Wise Vidura heard him, thinking all is lost. He went in utter misery to the river's son, Bhishma, of mighty wisdom. Janamaya requests to hear the story again in greater detail, and Vaishnampaya obliges. Dhritarashtra knows that Vidura will oppose the gambling match and tells Duryodhana to abandon the idea. Then he asks him why he is so dissatisfied. Duryodhana answers by describing the tremendous wealth that came in tribute to Yudhisthira and the humiliations he himself underwent in Indraprastha. He lists in detail the wonderful treasures that Yudhisthira received from all over the world. In many cases, kings were refused entrance despite having brought costly gifts. Great numbers of Brahmins were lavishly fed. Yudhisthira was waited on by kings, and kings brought him the chariot, armor, and other items needed for the royal consecration. The sound of hundreds of conches being blown at the accumulation of the ritual was so great that all the kings fainted, save for the Pandavas themselves, and Drishtadyumna, Satyaki, and Krishna, who all laughed at the sight. Now that he has seen all this, Duryodhana has no peace of mind. Dhritarashtra appeals to Duryodhana to be satisfied with what he has and to abide by his dharma. This is the only way to find happiness. But Duryodhana counters that a Kshatriya should further his own interests, whether this involves dharma or adharma. He wishes to be dissatisfied, for dissatisfaction leads to fortune. He cites the deception by means of which Indra slew Namuchi, enemies who prosper must be destroyed. Shakuni now makes his proposal to divest Yudhisthira of his fortune by means of gambling rather than war. Duryodhana supports him. Dhritarashtra says that he wishes to consult Vidura. Duryodhana objects. Vidura is not well disposed towards him. Reluctantly, Dhritarashtra agrees to the plan. He orders the building of the hall and instructs Vidura to fetch Yudhisthira. Vidura disapproves, but Dhritarashtra stands firm. Vaishampayana spoke. Now with his thoroughbred horses, swift, powerful, well broken in, Vidura set forth against his will to meet the wise Pandavas, for King Dhritarashtra had so commanded him. He raced along the road towards them, reached King Yudhishthira's city, and entered to be greeted with honor by the Brahmins. Arriving at the royal palace, opulent as the palace of Kubera, righteous Vidura of mighty wisdom approached Dharma's son, Yudhishthira. Noble Yudhishthira Ajitsaru, the truly steadfast king, welcomed Vidura with all proper honor, and then asked him about Dhritarashtra and his sons. Chamberlain, your heart seems empty of joy. I trust that you have come on pleasant business, and that the old king's sons do his bidding, and that his people too are obedient to his will. The noble king is well, and so are his sons, replied Vidura. He is ever surrounded by his Indra-like kin, and his sons please him with their courteous behavior. Nothing causes him grief, O king. He has inner strength and contentment. However, the king of the Kurus addresses you thus, having first inquired after your eternal welfare. Come, son, and see the hall of your Dhrtarastra brothers, which matches your own hall in loveliness. Come with your brothers, son of Kunti, and enjoy a friendly gambling match in it. Your arrival would cause us joy, good sir, and all the Kurus are assembled ready. Noble King Dhrtarastra has installed gamesters there, and there you will see them assembled, cheats that they are. It is to tell you this that I have come. Grant your approval, king. Chamberlain, answered Yudhisthira, if we gamble, we shall quarrel. Knowing this, who would agree to a match? But what do you consider proper, sir? All of us shall be ruled by your decision. Vidura said, I know that gambling brings disaster, and I tried to prevent it, but the king sent me to you. You have heard what I say, and you are learned. Act for the best. Apart from King Dhrtarashtra's sons, what other cheating gamblers will play there? Asked Yudhishthira. Tell me what I ask. Who are these assembled hundreds against whom I shall have to play? Lord of the peoples, there is Shakuni, king of Gandhara, replied Vidura. He plays for the highest stakes. He has skillful hands and knows the ways of the dice. Also, there are Vivimsrati and King Chitrashana, as well as Satyavrata, Purumitra, and Jaya. The most dangerous cheats are assembled there, said Yudhishthira, men who gamble under the guise of trickery. But, as people say, this whole world is under the sway of what fate ordains. And today I have no option but to gamble against cheats. I do not wish, wise sir, to refuse to go to the gambling match, since it is commanded by King Dhrtarashtra. A father is always dear to a son, and so I shall act as you instruct me, Vidura. I shall not gamble against my will with Shakuni unless he is so bold as to challenge me in that hall. But if I am challenged, I shall never refuse, for such is the eternal vow that I have sworn. After speaking thus to Vidura, Yudhishthira, lord of Dharma, commanded all arrangements for the journey to be swiftly made. On the following day, he set out with his followers and companions together with the womenfolk, Draupadi, chief among them. Fate robs us of wisdom as a sudden glare robs us of sight. Man is bound as of snares and follows the dictate of destiny. With these words, King Yudhishthira set forth with Vidura, the chamberlain, for Kunti's foe-taming son could not withstand the challenge. Pandu's son, the slayer of enemy heroes, mounted the chariot that Balika had given him and traveled surrounded by his brothers, blazing with royal glory, with Brahmins in the van, for he was challenged by Dhrtarashtra and by his compact with fate. Reaching Hastinapura, he went to Dhrtarashtra's dwelling, where the righteous Pandava met Dhrtarashtra. The Lord also met Drona, Bhishma, Karna, and Kripa, as was proper, as well as Ashvatthama, Drona's son. Then the strong-armed hero met Somdatta, Duryodhana, Shalya, and Shakuni, son of Subalya, and all the other kings who had already assembled there, together with Jayadratha and all the Kurus. Now, strong-armed Yudhisthira, encircled by his brothers, entered the dwelling of wise King Dhrtarashtra. There he saw Queen Gandhari, so devoted to her husband, ever surrounded by her daughters-in-law, as the Rohini constellation is surrounded by stars. He paid Gandhari his respects and received her greeting. Next, he saw the aged lord, Father Dhrtarastra, who saw through his wisdom. The king kissed him on the head and then kissed the 4 other Pandavas, beginning with Bhima. There was joy among the Kauravas, lord of the peoples, to see the handsome, tiger-like Pandavas. Next, with Dhrtarashtra's leave, they entered their jeweled quarters, where visitors came to to see Draupadi and the other women. When the daughters-in-law of Dhrtarastra saw the mighty, splendid wealth of Draupadi's daughter, they were not well pleased. After conversing with the ladies, all the tiger-like heroes left to perform their daily exercises and their toilet. Then, their daily tasks completed, they perfumed themselves with heavenly sandalwood and had blessings spoken by benevolent Brahmins. And after this, those heirs of Kuru ate a delicious meal and retired to their lodgings, where their womenfolk sang them to sleep. The night passed pleasantly for them in the enjoyment of love, and when the time came, well rested, they cast off sleep to the strains of songs in their praise. Thus, all of them spent an agreeable night. In the morning, they completed their daily tasks and then entered the lovely hall, which was thronged with gamblers. Now, Shakuni addressed Yudhisthira. The hall has been made ready, king, and everyone here is impatient to play. Let us agree to throw the dice and gamble, Yudhisthira. Gambling is deceit, answered Yudhisthira. It is evil, and there is no Kshatriya valor or moral firmness in it. Why do you praise gambling, O king? No one has praise for the cheating gambler's pride is in his deceit. So do not defeat me viciously and dishonestly, Shakuni. Shakuni replied, the calculating man who knows the ways of deception, whose cunning never falters in his struggles with the dice, and who has the intelligence to understand gambling. He is the man who emerges unscathed from the match. You fear that wagering with dice will ruin you utterly. This is why you say it is fate. Put aside your misgivings and gamble with us, prince. Lay your stake. Do not delay. Hear the words of Asita Devala, said Yudhishthira, the truest of sages, who stands always at the gates of heaven. This deceitful gaming with cheats is evil. Honest victory in war is the finest game. Noble men do not utter barbarism or perform deceits. Clean, honorable warfare is the rule for men of virtue. We strive to serve venerable Brahmins to the best of our ability. Do not deprive us of that wealth, Shakuni, by defeating us utterly at gambling. I have no desire for pleasures or wealth gained through deceit. For the gambler's way of life wins no honor, even if he is honest. When a Vedic scholar competes against one another, such scholarship answered Shakuni, or a learned man against men without learning, that is deception, Yudhisthira, though people do not call it so. If you think it is deception to compete with me here, or if you are afraid, then refuse the wager. If I am challenged, I shall not refuse, said Yudhishthira, for such is the vow that I have sworn. Fate is mighty, O king, and I am under the control of its ordinance. Tell me with whom in this assembly I am to gamble, and also what will be the stake against me. Then let the match proceed. Duryodhana now spoke. I shall stake my wealth and jewels, Lord of the peoples, and Shakuni here, my mother's brother, will play for me. For one person to gamble by means of another seems to me unfair, said Yudhishthira. And with all your learning, you too must know that this is so. But let play proceed nevertheless. Now, as the match drew near, all the kings entered the hall, headed by Dhrtarastra. Bhishma, Drona, Kripa, and Sagyasish Vidura followed. Heir of Bharata. They were not well pleased. In pairs and separately, the lion-necked princes of mighty powers sat on their many gorgeous lion thrones, till the hall shone with all the assembled kings as Indra's heaven shines with the blessed gods who gather there. All of those heroes were experts in the Veda. All were radiant as the sun in human form. Now, great king, that friendly gambling match began. Here, O king, I have a glorious jewel, said Yudhishthira, a lovely pearl necklace set in finest gold. It is of great worth, for it arose from the churning of the ocean. This is my stake, king. Now, what is your stake against me? Let things be done in due order, brother, and I shall win this game. Duryodhana answered, I have both jewels and wealth of every kind, but I do not glory in my riches. I shall win this game. Then Shakuni, expert dicer, took up the dice, and I have won, said Shakuni to Yudhishthira. It is by cheating me that you won this game from me, said Yudhishthira. But still let us play, Shakuni, wagering thousands upon thousands. Here, I have 100 jars, each filled with 1,000 coins. I have treasure, inexhaustible gold, riches in plenty. This is my stake, king. I wager it against you. Thus Yudhishthira spoke. And I have won, said Shakuni to the king. Here is the glory. Here's the glorious kingly chariot that carried us here, said Yudhishthira. It is worth 1,000, decked in tiger skins, fast moving with its fine wheels and other gear, adorned with clusters of tinkling bells, roaring like thunderclouds on the ocean. A wonderful victory-granting chariot drawn by 8 fine horses, the color of ospreys, that are esteemed throughout the land. All know that neither the chariot nor the horse's hooves so much as touch the ground. This is my stake, king. I wager it against you. Hearing this, Shakuni resolved and performed his deceit. And I have won, said Shakuni to Yudhishthira. I have 1,000 riding elephants, son of Subala, said Yudhishthira, with golden girths and auspicious markings garlanded with gold. They are mounts fit for kings, well broken in and capable of withstanding all the din of battle, with tusks like plow shafts and mighty bodies. Each one has 8 she-elephants for its mates, fortress destroyers all. These elephants are as huge as mountains or clouds. This is my stake, king. I wager it against you. As he spoke these words, Subala's son burst out laughing. And I have won, said Shakuni to Yudhishthira. I have 100,000 slave girls, said Yudhishthira, young and lovely, with shell bracelets, medallions, and other fair adornments. They are decked with costly garlands and ornaments, well dressed and sprinkled with sandal-scented water. They bear gold and jewels, and all of them are clad in fine garments. Skilled at singing and dancing, they wait upon householders, ministers, and kings at my command. This is my stake, king. I wager it against you. Hearing this, Shakuni resolved and performed his deceit. And I have won, said Shakuni to Yudhishthira. I have as many thousands of male slaves, said Yudhishthira, respectful, obedient, and always dressed in fine clothes. Wise, intelligent, and skillful, these young men, with their gleaming earrings, carry dishes to serve my guests food day and night. This is my stake, king. I wager it against you. Hearing this, Shakuni resolved and performed his deceit. And I have won, said Shakuni to Yudhishthira. I have as many chariots, said Yudhishthira, with banners and golden trappings, provided with well-trained horses and chariot fighters, who are expert at many forms of war, each one of whom receives at least 1,000 as his stipend, for this is their monthly pay, whether fighting or not. This is my stake, king. I wager it against you. Kunti's son finished speaking. And I have won, said the hateful, wicked Shakuni to Yudhishthira. I have Gandharva horses, said Yudhishthira, dappled like partridges, garlanded with gold, which Siddhartha was pleased to bestow upon Arjuna, the bearer of the bow Gandhava. This is my stake, king. I wager it against you. Hearing this, Shakuni resolved and performed his deceit. And I have won, said Shakuni to Yudhishthira. I have tens of thousands of other chariots, carts, and horses, said Yudhishthira. They stand ready yoked, together with draft animals of every kind. And in the same way I have standing ready a full 60,000 broad-chested men, drinkers of milk and eaters of rice grain, selected in their thousands from every class. This is my stake, king. I wager it against you. Hearing this, Shakuni resolved and performed his deceit. And I have won, said Shakuni to Yudhisthira. I have 400 treasure chests clad in copper and iron, said Yudhisthira, each one of which contains 500 weight of purest gold. This is my stake, king. I wager it against you. Hearing this, Shakuni resolved and performed his deceit. And I have won, said Shakuni to Yudhisthira. Now Vidura spoke to Dhrtarastra. Great king, listen to what I have to say and take it to heart, even though what you hear may be no more pleasurable to you than medicine to a man bent on death. When, long ago, this wicked-minded Duryodhana was only just born, he howled horribly like a jackal, and now, employed as fate's instrument, he will be the destroyer of the line of Bharata. In your mind, you do not realize that a jackal is living in your house in the shape of Duryodhana. But listen to the words of Sukra. The honey gatherer gathers his honey, but does not produce the precipice. He climbs to the top and then either falls or throws himself to his death. And so Duryodhana, crazed with wagering at dice as if with honey, does not look about him. He ignores a precipice as he antagonizes these mighty chariot fighters. Great king, you know that even amongst the world's kings, the Andakas, Yadavas, and Bhujas jointly abandoned Kamsa, regarding him as unfit. And when he was killed at their behest by foe slaying Krishna, they, his own kin, rejoiced for 100 years. Let the ambidextrous warrior Arjuna curb Duryodhana at your behest, and when he is curbed, let the Kurus rejoice at their ease. Trade this crow for peacocks, this jackal for tigers. Trade Duryodhana for the Pandavas, king. Do not drown in an ocean of grief. Give up one member for the sake of the family. Give up one family for the sake of the village. Give up one village for the sake of the kingdom. Give up the earth for the sake of yourself. So spoke Shukra, the knower of all, the knower of every man's heart, the terror of every enemy, to the mighty demons when they abandoned Jamba. It is said, O king, that a certain man took into his house birds from the forest, whose saliva yielded gold, but then he pressed them too hard instead of enjoying them forever, and so, O afflictor of your enemies, destroyed at once both his present and his future in a blind lust for gold. Do not harm the Pandavas in your own desires for the present, bull-like heir of Bharata. Or like that man who killed the birds, you will later rue your foolishness. Like the garland maker in a garden, lovingly take from the Pandavas each flower as they produce it, one after another. Do not burn the trees complete with their roots like a charcoal burner. Do not bring humiliation on yourself, your sons, your ministers, and your troops. For is there anyone, even Indra himself, with the Maruts, that could fight against the assembled sons of Kunti, heir of Bharata? Gambling is the root of dissension. It has for its consequence discord and mighty war. And embarking on it, Dhrtarastra's son, Duryodhana, is starting a fierce feud. Through Duryodhana's fault, the descendants of Pratipa, Shamtanu, and Bhima, and the Balikas will all come to grief, for in his utter madness, Duryodhana is banishing security from the land like a mad bull that breaks its own horn by force. Whether warrior or seer, the man who violates his own judgment to follow another's inclination is like someone who puts to sea in a boat steered by a child. He plunges into terrible disaster. O King Duryodhana, O king, Duryodhana is gambling with Yudhisthira, and this pleases you, for you believe that he is winning. But from this contest, for excessive stakes, there will arise a war bringing destruction to all men. This ill-advised fascination of yours will bear heavy fruit. A spell has been spoken, and in your heart it has grown into an obsession. Enjoy the fruit of friendship with Yudhishthira. Placate the mighty bowman Arjuna so that he gives up his enmity. You descendants of Pratipa and Shamtanu, and you too, O king, hear Shukra's word. Let it not pass you by. A dreadful blazing fire is leaping up. Extinguish it. Do not make war. If Pandu's son, Yudhishthira, overcome through his lack of skill, gives free rein to his fury, and so too wolf-belly Bhima, and the ambidextrous warrior Arjuna, and the twins, what refuge will there be for you then in that tumult that will follow? Before this match, great king, you were a man of as much wealth in your heart, as much wealth as your heart could wish. If you now win great riches from the Pandavas, what do you gain? To win true wealth, win over Kunti's sons. All of them know Shakuni's skill in gambling. The king of the mountain land knows how to cheat with dice. Let him return whence he came, for the mountain king fights through trickery. Duryodhana said, always it is our enemies whose glory forms your boast, while you sneer covertly at us, sons of Dhrtarastra, and despise us like children. We know you, Vidura. We know whose friend you are. It is easy to recognize the man whose affections lie elsewhere, for he directs his praise and blame accordingly. Your tongue betrays your heart and mind, and proclaims the depth of your hostility. We took you in like a wild creature and cherished you, but like a cat, you harm the man who feeds you. It is said that there's nothing more sinful than hurting one's master. How is it, Chamberlain, that you do not fear this sin? We have won great rewards by defeating our enemies, and you should not chastise us for it, Chamberlain. But always you delight to find common cause with our foes. Again and again you oppose us, fool that you are. The man who speaks enviously has already joined the enemy, and in their friendship for the enemy, such men keep their secrets close. How does the shame of that friendship not hold you back? Today, you have told us here exactly what you want. You should not despise us, for we know what is in your mind. Go and learn wisdom from the elders. Protect what reputation you have established, Vidura. Do not meddle in the affairs of others. You should not despise us on account of your own importance, Vidura. You should not always be chastising us. I do not ask you what is best for me. So leave well alone, Chamberlain, and stop trying our endurance. There is but one ruler, there is no other. That ruler rules a man before he is ever born. Ruled by him, like water down a slope, I flow wherever I am directed. If someone breaks rock with his head or offers food to a snake, it is the ruler's rule that he carries out. But the man who tries to exert his own rule by force in this world makes enemies for himself. Those who are learned should only tolerate a person who follows the ways of friendship. But the man who starts a blazing fire and fails to run in haste from it is left with nothing, heir of Bharata, not even ash. One should not shelter a hostile enemy, especially, O Chamberlain, a man who does harm. Therefore, Vidura, go where you want to go. Despite every conciliation, the unchaste wife still deserts her husband. Vidura replied, the friendship of those who would reject a man on such a pretext is like death itself, O king. Would you not say so? But the hearts of kings are fickle. First they conciliate, then they slay with bludgeons. Dull-witted prince, you consider yourself a mature man, and me a foolish child. But the true fool is he who makes a man his friend and then turns against him. This dull-witted man is as much a stranger to improvement as is the whore to the house of the Vedic scholar. And consistency appeals no more to this bull-like heir of Bharata than a 60-year-old husband to a young girl. If all you want is sycophancy, regardless of whether your acts are good or ill, then go and ask the women folk, and the dumb and the lame and other such folks, O king. A sycophant is easy to find here, heir of Pratibha, but the man who speaks unwelcome truth is as hard to find as the man who will listen to it. Nonetheless, a king's best companion is the one who, trusting in Dharma and putting aside his master's likes and dislikes, speaks unwelcome truths. The virtuous will drink, but the wicked refuse a medicine that is bitter, sharp-tasting, fiery, disreputable, harsh, and foul-smelling. Quell your anger, great king, and drink it. To Dhrtarastra's son of Vritravirya, and to his sons, I wish eternal wealth and glory, and I wish the same to you, and pay you honor. For myself, let the Brahmins speak a blessing for me. This is what I dutifully tell you, heir of Kuru. A learned man should not stir to anger snakes whose mere gaze is venomous. Now Shakuni addressed Yudhishthira once more. You have already lost much of the Pandavas' wealth, son of Kunti. Declare what wealth you stake now, if any remains unlost. I know that I have incalculable wealth, Shakuni, son of Subala, answered Yudhishthira. Why do you question me about my wealth? Let the wager be 10,000, a million, 10 billion, and 1 billion more. 100 million, 100 billion, 1,000 million, 100,000 billion. This is my stake, king. I wager it against you. Hearing this, Shakuni resolved and performed his deceit. And I have won, said Shakuni to Yudhishthira. I have horses and cows, including many milkers, said Yudhishthira. I have numberless sheep and goats, and I have all the livestock of every kind to the east of the Sindhu, son of Subala. This is my stake, king. I wager it against you. Hearing this, Shakuni resolved and performed his deceit. And I have won, said Shakuni to Yudhishthira. My remaining wealth is my city, my country, my land, said Yudhishthira, together with all the wealth belonging to non-Brahmins and the non-Brahmin populace itself. This is my stake, king. I wager it against you. Hearing this, Shakuni resolved and performed his deceit. And I have won, Shakuni said to Yudhishthira. The earrings and neck chains, said Yudhishthira, and all the bodily adornments that lend luster to these princes. This is my stake, king. I wager it against you. Hearing this, Shakuni resolved and performed his deceit. And I have won, said Shakuni to Yudhishthira. My wager is this dark young man, Nakula, said Yudhishthira, with red eyes, lion-like shoulders, and strong arms, together with whatever wealth he owns. King Yudhishthira, said Shakuni, Prince Nakula, so dear to you, has been added to our treasure. What will you wager next? With these words, he took up the dice, and I have won, Shakuni said to Yudhishthira. Sahadeva here expounds the different dharmas, said Yudhishthira, and has acquired a worldwide reputation as a scholar. I love the prince, and he does not deserve this, but I wager him against you as though I loved him not. Hearing this, Shakuni resolved and performed his deceit. And I have won, said Shakuni to Yudhishthira. Madri's twin sons are dear to you, O king. Now you have lost them to me, but I think that Bhima and wealth winner Arjuna mean even more to you. Be sure that you are breaching Dharma, fool, said Yudhishthira, in disregarding propriety and seeking to sow dissension among those who wish each other well. The drunk man may fall in a ditch, replied Shakuni, and the absent-minded man may bump into a post. But you are the eldest and best, O king. I pay honor to you, build like Bharata. When these cheating gamesters gamble like crazy men, they rave about things never seen, asleep or awake. Prince Arjuna is the world's most spirited hero, said Yudhishthira. Like a boat, he rescues us in battle and defeats our enemies. He does not deserve this, but I wager him against you, Shakuni. Hearing this, Shakuni resolved and performed his deceit. And I have won, said Shakuni to Yudhisthira. I have won from you, the bowman of the Pandavas, the ambidextrous warrior, the son of Pandu. Now, king, wager your beloved Bhima, for he is all the stake that you have left. Prince Bhima is our leader and the leader of our warriors, said Yudhishthira, like Indra himself, the god of the thunderbolt and enemy of the demons. Noble Bhima, with his lion-like shoulders, glaring with knitted brows, ever unforbearing, foe crusher and foremost of club wielders, is unmatched in strength by any other man. He does not deserve this, but I wager him against you, O king. Hearing this, Shakuni resolved and performed his deceit. And I have won, said Shakuni to Yudhishthira. You have lost much wealth. You have lost your brothers, your horses and elephants, son of Kunti. Declare what wealth you stake now, if any remains unlost. I myself remain, said Yudhishthira, senior most of all the brothers, and loved by them. If you win me, I shall work for you, for I shall be my own downfall. Hearing this, Shakuni resolved and performed his deceit. And I have won, said Shakuni to Yudhishthira. This is a most sinful thing that you have done, to lose your own self. If other wealth remains, O king, loss of oneself is a sin. Thus, Shakuni, who knew the ways of dice, won every single one of those world heroes by wagering, throw after throw. Now he spoke again. One stake is left you unlost, your own beloved queen. Wager Draupadi, the Panchala princess. Win yourself back with her. I wager her against you, said Yudhishthira. She is neither short nor tall, neither swarthy nor florid, and her silken garments are dyed red. Her eyes are like petals of autumn lotuses. Her scent is the scent of autumn lotuses, and she decks herself with autumn lotuses, and she is equal in beauty to Shri. She is a woman such as any man might want, who wished for gentleness, who wished for perfect beauty, who wished for a perfect disposition. Last to retire to bed and first to rise, she knows everything that has been done or left undone by everybody, even the cowherds and shepherds. Her sweat-flecked face is lovely as a lotus or jasmine flower, her waist slender as a sacrificial altar. Her hair is long, her eyes the color of copper, her body not marred by too much hair. Such is the Panchala princess, Draupadi, O king, with her slender waist and her lovely limbs. Alas, I wager her against you, son of Subala. When Yudhishthira, lord of Dharma, spoke these words, O heir of Bharata, all the elder courtiers were heard to cry, Woe! Woe! The hall was in turmoil. All the kings fell to talking, while Bhishma, Drona, and Kripa, and all the other crews broke into a sweat. Vidura sat plunged in thought, head in hands, looking like a dead man. Staring at the ground, he hissed like a snake. But Dhrtarastra was elated and asked over and over again, Has he won? Has he won? Making no attempt to maintain his dignity. Karna was overwhelmed with joy, and so were Dushasana and the other Kauravas, while others in the hall wept. As for Subala's crazed son Shakuni, he did not hesitate, and I have won, he said triumphantly as he took up the dice yet again. Now Duryodhana spoke. Come, Chamberlain, he said, and fetch here Draupadi of great renown, the Pandava's beloved wife. She shall sweep the house and then hurry away to enjoy her life with our other slave girls. Then the unthinkable is happening, thanks to you and your kind, answered Vidura. Fool! You do not see that you are caught in a trap. You do not realize that you are hanging over a precipice. You are like a deer that stupidly provokes tigers to fury. You are carrying on your head snakes of deadly venom, their poison sacs full. Do not engage them, fool. Do not set out for Yama's realm. In my judgment, Draupadi Krishna has not fallen into servitude, Arabharata, for King Yudhisthira was not his own master when he wagered her. This prince, Dhrtarastra's son, is like the bamboo that dies in putting forth fruit. He is ripe, and this is the time for his death, yet he does not understand that gambling leads to the most dangerous of feuds. A man should not act to wound. He should not speak cruelly. He should not snatch the final possession from one who has lost all. He should not utter that hurtful, infernal word which causes another man distress. When bad words leave a person's mouth to bring grief night and day to those that hurt, they never fail to strike the weakest spots. Therefore, no learned man will direct them at others. It is said that once when a man had lost a knife, their goat tore at the ground with its hooves till it dug up another. Its throat was cut most horribly. Do not do likewise. Do not dig up a feud with the Pandavas. Men do not speak ill of a praiseworthy man, whether pious or householder, forest-dwelling sage, or learned ascetic, but curs forever bay like you. Son of Dhrtarashtra, you do not realize that this is the dreadful crooked gate to hell. Many of the Kurus will follow you and Dushasana through it. Thanks to your success at gambling, bottle gourds may sink and stones may float. Boats may forever sail the wrong way on the water, but this foolish prince, Dhritarashtra's son, will never listen to my beneficial words. Without doubt, he will be the end of the Kurus, a terrible destruction sweeping all away, for the prophetic, beneficial words of his friends are ignored, and only greed flourishes. Curse you, Chamberlain, said the son of Dhritarashtra, and in his mad pride he caught the eye of his page and addressed him in the midst of all the nobles in the hall. Fetch Draupadi, my page. You have no fear of the Pandavas, even if the Chamberlain here is scared and disputes my order. But, after all, he has never wanted us to prosper. The page, Asuta, received his orders. He set off as soon as he learnt King Duryodhana's command, entered the dwelling as a dog might enter the den of a lion, and approached the Pandava's queen. Yudhisthira is overcome by intoxication of gambling, he said, and so, Draupadi, you have been won by Duryodhana. You must therefore now enter Dhritarashtra's household. I shall conduct you to your duties, daughter of Drupada. How can you speak so, page? Replied Draupadi. What prince would ever wager his own wife? The foolish king may be overcome by the intoxication of gambling, but he had nothing else to stake. It was when he had nothing else to stake that Pandu's son, Yudhishthira, wagered you, answered the page. First, the king staked his brothers, and indeed himself. Then, princess, he staked you. Go, son of Suta, said Draupadi. Go and ask that gambler in the hall. Arabharata, did you first lose yourself or me? Return when you have learnt this, son of Asuta, then you may conduct me there. So he went back to the hall and announced what Draupadi had said. These were Draupadi's words to you. When you lost me, of whom were you master? Did you first lose yourself or me? But Yudhishthira remained motionless, like a dead man, and made no answer to the sutta, whether for good or ill. Now Duryodhana spoke. Let the Panchala princess Draupadi Krishna come here in person to pose this question. Here in this hall, let everyone hear what she and this man have to say. The Sutta page, obedient to Duryodhana's will, returned to the royal quarters and spoke to Draupadi in evident distress. Princess, the courtiers there summon you. I think that the destruction of the Kauravas must be at hand. For if you are to come to the hall, princess, it is clear that Duryodhana, bases of men, cares nothing for our welfare. Draupadi answered, this for sure is what the ordainer ordained. The wise and the foolish are touched alike by both good and ill, but a single dharma has been declared paramount in this world, which will, if protected, maintain us in peace. Now, when Yudhisthira realized what Duryodhana intended to do, he sent to Draupadi, a messenger whom she trusted. O bull-like heir of Bharata! And the Panchala princess came to the hall and stood before her father-in-law, Dhrtarastra, weeping and wearing a single unbelted garment, for she was in the midst of her period. King Duryodhana looked at the faces before him and exultantly addressed the Sutta. Bring her right here, page. Let the Kuru speak to her face to face. Then the Sutta, who was obedient to his will but fearful of the anger of Draupadi's daughter, put aside pride and appealed once more to the courtiers. What shall I say to Draupadi Krishna? Look, Dushasana, said Duryodhana, this idiot son of a Sutta of mine is frightened of wolf-belly Bhima. Lay hold of Draupadi's daughter yourself and bring her here. Our rivals are powerless. What can they do? Prince Dushasana listened to his brother, then arose, his eyes red with anger. He entered the quarters of the mighty chariot fighters and spoke to Princess Draupadi. Come, Panchala girl, come, you have been won. Put aside modesty, Draupadi, and look upon Duryodhana with your long lotus eyes. Now you must transfer your affections to the Kurus, for they have won you fairly. Come to the hall. Then she arose, her heart full of grief, and she wiped her pale face with her hand. In her distress, she ran to the womenfolk of old King Dhrtarastra, the bull-like Kuru. But Dushasana rushed at her, roaring in fury, and grabbed the wife of the Lord of Men by her long, dark, flowing hair. Her hair, which had been sprinkled with water purified by mantras during the ritual bath, concluding the great rite of the royal consecration, was now handled roughly by Dhrtarastra's son to slight the Pandava's manhood. Dushasana laid hold of Draupadi Krishna with her deep black hair and led her towards the hall, unprotected in the midst of her protectors, dragging her as the wind drags at a battered plantain tree. As she was dragged along, she bowed her slender body low and spoke softly. Today I am in the midst of my period, dull-witted prince, and I am wearing a single garment. You ignoble man, you should not take me to the hall. But he held Draupadi Krishna by her firm black hair, and he said to her, Call for aid to Arjuna and Krishna, to Nara and Narayan. I am taking you. You may be in the midst of your period, daughter of Drupada, and you may be wearing a single garment, or indeed none at all. You have been won at gambling, and you have been made our slave. Enjoy your pleasures now amongst our other slave girls. Her hair was disheveled, and her garments fallen half off through Dushasana's handling. But modest and burning with anger, Draupadi Krishna spoke softly these words. The men here in this hall expound learned texts and perform the rituals. All of them are warriors like Indra. All of them are my elders, or as good as my elders. I cannot stand before them like this. You are acting cruelly and ignobly. Do not strip my clothes from me. Do not drag me. The princes would never forgive what you are doing, even if the very gods and Indra were to take your side. King Yudhisthira is the son of Dharma and abides by Dharma, and Dharma is subtle, requiring skill to understand it. I would not wish even a word of mine to deviate from virtue and bring my lord the least atom of blame. But for you to drag me into the mists of the Kuru heroes, in the midst of my period, is ignoble, and nobody here shows me any respect. Clearly, they all approve of your way of thinking. A curse upon you. The Dharma of the Bharatas is destroyed, and so is adherence to Kshatriya way. For every one of the Kurus in this hall is watching while the limits of Kuru Dharma are breached. Drona has no medal, nor Bhishma, no for sure noble King Dhrtarastra here, for they, the senior most of the Kurus, take no notice of this savage violation of Dharma. Thus the slender-waisted lady lamented, and she gazed at her furious husbands, inflaming the Pandavas with her glances till they were ready to burst with anger. Neither the loss of their kingship, nor that of their wealth, or their finest jewels caused them to grieve, as did the angry gaze that Draupadi Krishna directed at them in her distress. As for Dushasana, when he saw her looking at her wretched husbands, he shook her roughly, and she nearly fainted. And slave, he said with a savage laugh. And Karna praised his words, laughing aloud in great glee. And Subala's son, Shakuni, king of Gandhara, likewise applauded Dushasana. But apart from these two, and from Duryodhana's son of Dhrtarastra, the other courtiers who were present were greatly grieved to see Draupadi Krishna dragged into the hall. Good lady, said Bhishma, it is true that Dharma is subtle, so that I cannot properly decide this question of yours, for I recognize that whilst a man without property cannot wager the property of another, a woman is always subservient to her husband. Pandu's son, Yudhisthira, would give up the world and all its wealth, but he would never abandon truth, and he stated that he had been won. This is why I cannot judge this question of yours. Shakuni is unequaled among men at gambling, but he allowed Yudhisthira, son of Kunti, free choice. And that noble man did not consider what took place was deceit. This is why I cannot address this question of yours. The king was challenged in this hall by skilled gamblers, replied Draupadi. By wicked, ignoble deceivers, men who love gambling, while he had little practice. How can you say that he was allowed free choice? Foremost among the Kurus and the Pandavas, he is pure by nature and does not understand the ways of deceit. That is why, even though he had been won by all of them conspiring together, he agreed to wager me afterwards. Let all the Kurus present in this hall, men with sons and daughters-in-law under their authority, consider what I have said and properly decide this question of mine. Thus she lamented and wept, gazing over and over at her husbands, while Dushasana spoke to her words that were harsh and hateful and bitter. Dragged along in the midst of her period, with her garment slipping from her, although she least deserved such treatment, wolf-bellied Bhima looked at her, and then at Yudhisthira, and then, in his unbearable distress, he gave vent to his fury. The gamblers in this land have their whores, Yudhishthira, he said, but they do not wager them. Indeed, they show kindness. The offerings of wealth and other fine goods that the king of Kashi brought, the jewels that the other kings presented to us, our steeds, our riches, our armor, our weapons, our kingdom, we ourselves and you yourself have all been wagered and won by the others, and this has not angered me, for you are master of all we own. But it seems to me that in staking Draupadi, you went too far. This girl does not deserve this. She has joined herself to the Pandavas, yet, thanks to you, she is tormented by base, cruel, deceitful Kauravas. It is for her sake that I turn my fury on you, king. I shall burn these arms of yours. Fetch fire, Sahadeva. Bhima, said Arjuna, never before have you spoken such words. Our cruel enemies must have destroyed your respect for Dharma. You should not give these enemies what they desire. Practice highest Dharma, and do not rebel against your righteous elder. For if a king is challenged by others, he should recall his Kshatriya Dharma and gamble at their wish. This brings us great glory. Wealth winner Arjuna, answered Bhima. If I believed that he had acted out of self-indulgence, I would overpower him and burn his 2 arms in a blazing fire. Now, when Dhrtarashtra's son Vikarna saw the Pandavas so distressed and Draupadi in such torment, he spoke these words. Princes, you must decide the matter put to you by Draupadi's daughter. If we fail to judge this matter, we shall go straight to hell. Bhishma and Dhritarashtra, the 2 senior most of the Kurus, both say nothing, and so does Vidura. Bharadvaja's son Drona, the teacher of us all, and Kripa too, the 2 truest of the Brahmins, do not address this question. But the other lords of the earth who are assembled here from every quarter should put aside personal anger and desire and speak as they judge. For Draupadi has raised this matter repeatedly. Consider it, princess, and give your answer. Which of you takes which side? Many times Vikarna addressed those courtiers thus, but the lords of the earth did not reply to him, whether for good or ill. Then, after speaking so several times to them all, he wrung his hands, exhaled deeply, and said, Decide the matter or decide it not, lords of the earth. Either way, O Kauravas, I shall tell you what I think is proper in this case. It is said, O best of men, that kings are subject to 4 vices: hunting, drinking, dicing, and excessive sexual indulgence. The man who is addicted to these lives, his life shunning Dharma, and the world holds the deeds of such an unfit person to be of no account. Pandu's son entered upon the wager of Draupadi when he was utterly given over to one such vice, having been challenged by cheating gamesters. Further, this blameless girl is the common wife of all the Pandavas, and the wager was made by Yudhisthira after he himself had been lost. What is more, it was Subala's son, Shakuni himself, who first named Draupadi Krishna when he was seeking a stake. Bearing all this in mind, I consider that she has not been won. At these words there arose in the hall a great uproar of voices, praising Vikarna and condemning Shakuni. When the noise was stilled, Radha's son Karna, nearly swooning with rage, brandished a handsome arm and spoke. Many perversities are to be seen in Vikarna, which, although they spring from him, will destroy him as a fire burns the fire stick that kindles it. These princes have said not a word for all the pleading of Draupadi Krishna. I think they think Draupadi's daughter fairly won. Son of Dhritarashtra, it is your own childish folly that tears you apart, so that you, a boy, speak an old man's words in the midst of an assembly. Nor do you truly understand Dharma, dull-witted younger brother of Duryodhana. If you claim that Draupadi has not been won, when won she has, how can you think Krishna not won, son of Dhritarashtra, when Pandu's eldest son staked all his possessions in this hall and Draupadi was one of those possessions? How can you think Krishna not won, bull like Erev Bharata, when she was fairly won? Draupadi was named aloud, and the Pandavas assented. So, for what reason do you think her not won? Or perhaps you think that it was not right that she was brought to this hall wearing a single garment. Well, here are my superior views of this issue, too. The gods ordain one husband for a woman, Arab Kuru, yet she submits to several. Thus, she is clearly a whore. And in my judgment, it is not remarkable that she should be brought into the hall, or that she should be wearing a single garment, or indeed none at all. Subala's son Shakuni fairly won all the Pandavas' wealth, whatever riches they possessed, and this woman and themselves. Dushasana, this Vikarna, with all his wise talk, is just a foolish boy. Strip off the Pandavas' garments, and those of Draupadi too. When the Pandavas heard this, ere Bharata, they all removed their upper garments and sat down in the hall. Then Dushasana forcibly grabbed Draupadi's garment in the middle of the hall, O king, and began to pull it from her. But Lord of the peoples, as he pulled at Draupadi's garment, another garment just like it appeared. And this happened over and over again. And this, all the lords of the earth gave a dreadful cry as they saw this most wonderful sight in the world. But Bhima, wringing his hands, his lower lip throbbing in anger, loudly pronounced a curse in the midst of the kings. Kshatriyas of the world, hear these words of mine that no other man ever spoke before, nor will ever speak again. Lords of the earth, may I not attain the realm of all my ancestors if, having said this, I do not carry it out. If in battle I do not rip open the breast of this wicked sinner, this bastard Bharata, and drink his blood. His words made the hair rise on everybody's body. Those who heard them did him great honor and reviled Dhrtarastra's son. As for Dushasana, having amassed a pile of garments in the middle of the hall, he sat down, wearied and ashamed. The princes of men present in the hall uttered many a hair-raising cry of alas, alas, when they saw the sons of Kunti's people when they saw the sons of Kunti. People called out, the Kauravas will not decide Draupadi's question, and they censured Dhrtarastra. Now Vidura, expert in Dharma, raised his arms to silence the courtiers and spoke these words. Draupadi has posed this question. Now she weeps pitifully, as though she had no one to protect her, while you did not decide the matter. This is an affront to Dharma, courtiers. The person who comes before this assembly in distress is like a blazing fire. The courtiers in that assembly extinguish the flames with truth and Dharma. When such a distressed person poses a question on Dharma to the courtiers, they should decide that question, putting aside personal anger and desire. Vikarna has addressed the question according to his own wisdom, lords of men, and now you too should decide it and speak as you judge. For if a member of an assembly who understands Dharma will not decide such a question, half of the guilt of lying is his. And if a member of an assembly who understands Dharma gives a false answer, the full guilt of lying is his, for sure. To reinforce his point, Vidura now cites the story of Prahlada, who gave true judgment against his own son, but it is to no avail. The princes heard what Vidura had to say, but they spoke not a word. Then Karna said to Dushasana, take this slave girl, Draupadi Krishna, into the house. And in the middle of the hall, Dushasana dragged her away, wretched and ashamed, trembling and crying out pitifully to the Pandavas. I have a great duty that I shall have performed before, but could not, said Draupadi, because of my distress at being dragged here by force by this mighty man. I greet the elders in this assembly of Kurus. Let me not be blamed for not doing so sooner. Then the wretched girl fell, partly from his manhandling and partly from grief, and there in the hall she lamented, for she was unused to such treatment. Kings once assembled in the arena to see me at my Swayamvara, but otherwise I have never before been seen in public, and today I am brought into this hall. Till now, in my own house, neither wind nor sun has ever seen me. And today, in the middle of this hall, this assembly of Kurus, I am exposed to the view of all. Till now, in my own house, the Pandavas would not permit the wind to touch me, and today they allow me to be touched by this wicked man. I think that fate has turned against me. For now these Kurus permit their daughter-in-law, their daughter, to be tormented when she does not deserve it. But worse than this is that I, a virtuous and upright woman, should today have to enter right into the middle of the hall. Where is the Dharma of the lords of the earth? Formerly righteous women were not allowed into the hall, or so we have been told, but this ancient eternal law has lapsed among the Kauravas. How could I, wife of the Pandavas, sister of Prasata's heir Drishtadyumna, friend of Krishna Vasudeva, enter this hall of kings? I am the wife of Yudhisthira, lord of Dharma, and equal to him by birth. Tell me, am I slave or free? I shall abide what you say, O Kauravas. But for this base man, defiler of the Kauravas' good name, to torment me so badly, that I shall not tolerate long. Whether you consider me one or unwon, kings, I want your answer. I shall abide by what you say, O Kauravas. Bhishma answered her, O fair one, I have already said that the way of Dharma is the highest. Not even noble priests can follow it in this world. And in this world, whatever a powerful man regards as Dharma is said by others to be Dharma, even if it falls within the limits of adharma. I cannot judge this question of yours with certainty because of the subtlety, profundity, and seriousness of the issue. The end of this Kuru line must be at hand, since the Kurus are all devoted to greed and folly. Those born into such lines, O fair one, do not fall from the path of Dharma, even when calamity overwhelms them. And you stand here as our daughter-in-law. Your conduct, Panchala princess, is proper and befitting, for though you have met with misfortune, you still maintained your regard for Dharma. These elders, Drona and the others, are experts in Dharma, but they sit with their heads down as if they were dead men with empty bodies. However, in my judgment, it is Yudhishthira himself who is the authority on this question of yours. He should tell you whether you are one or unwon. The lords of the earth saw everything that happened, and Draupadi shrieking like a stricken osprey, but they spoke not a word, whether for good or ill, for they were frightened of Dhrtarastra's son. And Dhrtarastra's son, that those sons and grandsons of princes were silenced. And Dhrtarastra's son saw that those sons and grandsons of princes were silenced. And then with a smile, he spoke to the daughter of the king of Panchala. Let this question of yours pass to Bhima, of noble mettle, to Arjuna, to Sahadeva, and to your husband, to Nakula, O daughter of Drupada. Let them address the matter you have raised. Let them decide for your sake in the midst of these nobles that Yudhishthira is not your master or Panchala girl. Let them all make the Lord of Dharma a liar, and you will escape slavery. The Lord of Dharma, Indra like Yudhishthira, abides by Dharma. Let him tell you this himself. Is he your master or is he not? Then when he had spoken, you must at once declare yourself his or ours. All these Kauravas here in the hall share in your own misery. That is why, when they see your husbands so unfortunate, these heroes of noble mettle cannot decide your case. Now all the courtiers present there gave loud applause to the words of the Kuru king. They waved their garments and roared, though cries of woe were also heard. All the princes were delighted, and they did honor to righteous Duryodhana, best of the Kurus. All of them regarded Yudhishthira out of the corner of their eye, wondering what the expert in Dharma would say. Filled with the greatest curiosity to know what Arjuna, the Pandava, undefeated in battle, would say, and Bhima and the twins. When the noise was stilled, Bhima spoke, brandishing a mighty, well-formed, sandal-scented arm. If Yudhishthira, the Lord of Dharma were not our elder and lord of our line, we should not forgive this. If the master of our merits and of our austerities, the lord of our lives, considered himself one, we too are one. No mortal who walks the earth would have escaped me alive for laying hands on the hair of the Panchala princess here. Look at these two long, well-formed arms of mine, like two iron bars. Not even Indra of 100 sacrifices could escape once he had come between them. Bound as I am by the snares of Dharma, I start no trouble. Respect prevents me, and Arjuna is restraining me. But if the Lord of Dharma lets me loose with my bare hands for weapons, I shall ravage these wicked Dhritarashtras as a lion ravages lesser creatures. But now Bhishma, Drona, and Vidura spoke to him. You must show forbearance. With you, anything might happen. Karna said, they say that these three may hold no property, the slave, the student, and the dependent woman. As the wife of a slave lady, you are now the property of Duryodhana here, a slave girl without husband, one of the slaves he owns. So enter our house and favor us with your attentions. We bid you enter, and we assign you this duty. We, Dhritarashtras, are now all your lords, princes, not the sons of Pandu. Lovely one, quickly choose another husband, one who will not wager you into slavery. Amongst slaves, as you know, a sensual disposition towards one's masters is never taken amiss. Let yours be so. Nakula is defeated. So is Bhima. So are Yudhisthira, Sahadeva, and Arjuna. Enter our house as our slave, daughter of Draupadi, for those who have been defeated are no longer your husbands. What value to himself can Kunti's son put upon his valor and his manliness to gamble away in the midst of the assembly this daughter of Draupadi, king of Panchala? When unforbearing Bhima heard this, he snorted furiously in his distress. But loyal to King Yudhisthira and bound by the snares of Dharma, he merely turned his angry red eyes upon Karna as if to burn him up. O king, he said, I am not angry with this son of Asuta, for in truth this is the Dharma of slaves, which is now ours. But how would our enemies have resisted me today if you had not wagered this lady, Lord of men? As for King Duryodhana, when he heard the words of Radha's son Karna, he addressed Yudhisthira, who sat silent before him, nearly out of his mind. O king, Bhima, Arjuna, and the twins accept your authority. Decide the question of whether you consider Draupadi Krishna unwon. Then, after speaking thus to Kunti's son, he drew apart his garment, and looking at the Panchala princess with the smile of a man intoxicated by absolute power, to amuse Radha's son and to outrage Bhima, he exposed to the gaze of Draupadi, long like a plantain stem, graced with every auspicious mark, firm as an elephant's trunk, strong as adamant, his own left thigh. Wolf-belly Bhima saw this. Opening his red eyes, he announced to him in the midst of the kings, as if declaiming it to the entire assembly. May the wolf-belly not share his ancestors' realm if in a mighty battle I do not smash that thigh with my club. So great was his rage that fiery flames issued forth from his every orifice, as from the hollows of a burning tree. Behold the great danger that you face from Bhima, said Vidura. Take note of it. It is like the noose of King Varuna. Be sure that this terrible disaster has arisen among the Bharatas, was directed from the first by fate. You sons of Dhritarashtra, you have wagered for excessive stakes, and now you dispute over this woman in the hall. Your security seems in great danger, for the Kurus are engaging in wicked plots. Learn quickly your dharma. If it is not well understood, the whole assembly will be befouled. If the gambler Yudhishthira had wagered this woman earlier before losing himself, he would have been her master. But as I judge it, property wagered by one, not its owner, is like property won in a dream. When you hear what Gandhari's son Duryodhana has to say, do not deviate from this dharma, Kurus. I shall abide by the word of Bhima, said Duryodhana. Likewise, that of Arjuna and the twins, too. If they will declare that Yudhishthira was not their master, then Drupada's daughter will escape slavery. When first he staked us, Arjuna replied, King Yudhishthira, the noble lord of Dharma, Kunti's son, was our master. But whose master was he after losing himself? That is what all of you Kurus must decide. And then, in the house of King Dhrtarastra, a jackal howled loudly in the chamber of the sacred fire. Asses gave answer, king, and so did frightful birds, and all around. Sagacious Vidura heard this dreadful noise, as did Shakuni, son of Subala. Bhishma, Drona, and learned Kripa, heir of Gautama, loudly called out blessings. Then Gandhari and the learned Vidura, in great distress, informed the king of the terrible portent they had witnessed, at which the king spoke these words. Dull-witted Prince Duryodhana, you have brought down destruction upon yourself for speaking discourteously in the assembly to a woman belonging to those bull-like Kurus, and especially to Draupadi, their lawful wife. Then wise Dhrtarastra, who wished his Pandava kinsman well, withdrew, and after wise reflection, the king addressed Draupada's daughter, Krishna, in conciliatory tones. Daughter of Drupada, choose for me whatever boon you wish, for among my daughters-in-law you are the most distinguished in your devotion to Dharma. If you are granting me a boon, bull-like heir of Bharata, answered Draupadi, my choice is that glorious Yudhishthira, who observes all Dharma, should be freed from slavery, for I would not have ignorant boys cry out, here is the slave's son, when they see my spirited son coming. Having been once a king's son and cherished like no other man, he would die, heir of Bharata, if he found he was now the son of a slave. Lady, I give you a second boon, said Dhrtarastra. Choose one from me, for my heart grants it. A single boon is not worthy of you. For my second boon, Draupadi replied, I choose Bhima, wealth runner Arjuna, Nakula, and Sahadeva, and with their chariots and their bows. Choose a third for me, Dhrtarastra said. Two do not do you sufficient honor. For all of my daughters-in-law, you are the best in the practice of Dharma. Blessed sir, said Draupadi, greed destroys Dharma. I cannot take a third boon from you, for I am not worthy, truest of kings. They say that the Vaishya receives one boon, the Kshatriya women 2, while 3 boons are for the king, prince of kings, and 100 boons for the Brahmin. These husbands of mine were in terrible straits, but they have been rescued, and they will live to see good fortunes through acts of virtue, O king. Karna said, of all the women whose beauty we hear praised in the world, not one has done such a deed, as far as we have heard. When the sons of Kunti and of Dhritarashtra were filled with extreme rage, this Draupadi Krishna became the Pandavas' deliverance. When they were sinking and drowning in a shifting, shipless ocean, this Panchala princess became the boat that brought the Pandavas to land. When, in the midst of the Kurus, the unforbearing Bhima heard this, that the Pandavas had been rescued by a woman, he said with angry heart, according to Davala, there are 3 lights in a man, offspring, deeds, and learning. Through these, creatures attain being, for when the body, impure, lifeless, and empty, is cast away by one's own kin, it is these 3 that still exist of a man. But one of our lights has been put out, because our wife has been tainted. How, wealth winner Arjuna, can offspring be born from a tainted woman? Bharata has never responded to the insults of the base, answered Arjuna, whether these are spoken or unspoken. They remain always the most superior of men. Virtuous folk remember only the kindness they have been shown, not the acts of hostility. They have the self-confidence to distinguish between the two. Right here, right now, said Bhima to Yudhishthira, I shall slay all these assembled enemies. Step outside, Prince of Kings, and cut them down, roots and all. Why should we trouble to discuss it? I shall kill them here and now, and you shall rule the earth. With these words, Bhima, who was surrounded by his younger brothers like a lion surrounded by deer, began to glance repeatedly toward his club. Kunti's son Arjuna tirelessly calmed him and cooled him, but the strong-armed hero was sweating with his inner burning. So great was his rage, Lord of Men, that from his ears and other orifices a fiery flame issued forth, smoking and sparking. His puckered frown contorted his face till he appeared like death at the time of doomsday. Yudhisthira restrained the strong-armed hero with his own arm. Do not do this, he said to him. Stand easy, Bharata. Then, when he had restrained mighty Bhima, whose eyes were red with anger, he joined his hands together and approached his father, Dhrtarastra. O king, said Yudhishthira, what should we do for you? Command us. You are our lord, and it is our wish to remain under your authority, heir of Bharata. Bless you, Yudhishthira, replied Dhrtarastra. You have my leave to go in peace and welfare with all your wealth. Rule your own kingdom. But give due to this, an old man's command, which I utter with all my wisdom. It will confer the greatest benefit upon you. You know, Yudhishthira, my son, that the way of the Dharma is subtle. You are courteous and wise, and you wait upon your elders. Where there is intelligence, there is peace. Attain peace, heir of Bharata. An axe makes no impression on a non-wooden object, but on wood it is wielded to effect. The most superior of men take no heed of acts of hostility, for they see virtues, not faults, and they do not indulge in strife. Base men may utter insults in dispute, Yudhishthira, and middling men reply with insults of their own, but the wise never respond to hurtful insults, whether these are spoken or unspoken. They remain always the most superior of men. Virtuous folk remember only the kindness they have been shown, not acts of hostility. They have the self-confidence to distinguish between the two. Your own behavior in this honorable assembly has been noble. Therefore, my son, do not take Duryodhana's insulting behavior to heart. Heir of Bharata, look at your mother, Gandhari. Look, too, at me, your old blind father who stands here praying for your virtues. I connived at this gambling match for the sake of seeing. I wish to see my friends, and also my son's strengths and weaknesses. With you as ruler, O king, and wise Vidura, learned in every lore as minister, the Kurus are to be envied. In you is Dharma, in Arjuna, heroism, in Bhima, valor, and in the twins, those foremost of men, are faith and obedience to elders. Bless you, Yudhisthira. Return to Pandavas. May there be brotherhood with your Dhrtarashtra brothers, and may your heart reflect on Dharma. When Yudhishthira, best of Bharata and lord of Dharma, heard these words, he gave his full assent in due form and departed with his brothers. They mounted their cloud-like chariots, and together with Draupadi Krishna, they set forth with hearts full of joy for Indraprastha, best of cities. Okay. Next chapter, the second gambling match. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.